friends, and welcome back to my homestead. Today again I am in a kitchen because I'm going to be making soup for my family. This is January, cold January in New England, and what is better than to serve your family that soul warming homemade soup. But as you guys know, any soup begins with a good base, so you can use stock, broth, or bone broth. Now, there is a big difference, and I will discuss that today between those three things. And I have received questions and requests from my subscribers and my friends saying, Mama Lil, please show us how you make your broth or your stock. So today, I'm going to be making a very basic stock using pork bones. I have this bone with a little bit of shank meat frozen from our last year's pig. And it's going to be perfect for my stock today. Now, you may use chicken, you may use beef, more bones better, but some meat is good as well. Lamb, anything you prefer, whatever you guys like. In my case, I have pork. Now, my stock is going to be cooking for the next few hours, and I'm going to be adding some aromatics to it. So besides the bone and the water, and the aromatics that I love to use is an onion, a carrot, and I just clean them, I don't peel them. Same thing with half a head of garlic, couple of bay leaves, and about 10 or 15 peppercorns. So those are the basic things that I like to add to the stock. However, if you guys have followed me for a while, you know that I have this stock bag in my freezer, and every time I cook with an onion and I peel an onion, I save pieces of the onion. Okay, it's clean, it's organic, and it's sitting all here. Same thing with celery. When I cut the celery, and these are the bottom pieces, the very woody pieces, guess what? They're here as well. And I have pieces of carrots as well. When I don't use pieces of carrots, they all go in here as well. If you look on the bottom of the bag, it's all broken down already. But those are the stalks of different herbs from my garden. And again, I throw them in here, and when I'm making a broth or a stock, I pull out a couple of handfuls and I add them to my stock. So I actually save this for the real soup. So when I'm making the soup, I'm gonna need these vegetables, I'm gonna save them for the soup. So this is one of the ways how we save money on the homestead. I have this very large pot, it's an 8-quart pot, and I put cold water in here, and I'm gonna be putting my bone and meat in here. So you may ask how much of bone, how much of meat, and I have to say that you don't wanna put too much, depends on how much water you're using. I'm cooking for today and for tomorrow, so I'm gonna be, let's see if it's still frozen, it doesn't want to fit. For about 2 quarts of water, you're going to need about a pound of bone and some meat on it. Now, bones are usually a little bit cheaper than the meat itself, so but I just don't recommend putting all meat because you still need that cartilage, you still need those minerals that do come from the bone. It hasn't come to a boil yet, but I want to bring this closer to you guys to show you. It's beginning to create this foamy like substance at the top, and it's going to become a little darker soon, and more of it. So what this is actually needs to be skimmed off and thrown away, because this is leftover blood and blood from the bone marrow and from the muscle of the meat that's boiling and cooking. So in order to keep this broth nice and clear and clean and good tasting, it's important that we skim this. Now, I know that there are some people who love to actually drain the first boiled water and rinse off the meat and the bones and then fill up again with cold water. I don't do that because I feel like I'm losing a lot of flavor. But all of this I'm going to be skimming right now into a bowl and just discarding that, and there will gonna be more of it coming, trust me. So that was my job as a child when mama made soup, and in Russian households soup was always a must all year round, especially in the winter because we did have cold winters. It was a must every single day. That was the main way to feed a large crowd of people for very little money, because you could make soups very, very frugally. So I'm going to be skimming all of this scum, frothy scum that's going to be forming on top. And only after that, when all this scum finished forming, I'm going to be adding my aromatics. If I added them now, I would be skimming and throwing away my peppercorns. I would be throwing away accidentally garlic and everything else, which I don't want to do. See, they keep forming more and more and more. So I'm just going to be standing here and waiting for more to form. Okay, so it's creating more and more of this foam. And I'm going to be keep skimming everything to keep it nice and clear. Hi, Bruno, you can smell the pork? Huh, honey? Okay, so all that foaming process is done. I don't see any more. And at this point, it's beginning to boil. I'm going to be adding my aromatics. I'm going to throw a about a half. If you have less, you can put less or more of garlic, a couple of bay leaves, about, I don't know, 10, 15 of peppercorns, and a good handful of my scraps here. Maybe a few more, I don't know. I'm gonna be generous. So it's 2 handfuls of different scraps of my root vegetables. So I'm gonna put it on the stove on a medium-low heat, and it's gonna slowly simmer on my stove for the next several hours, and the whole house is gonna fill up with the beautiful aroma. So what is the difference? And the difference is that the broth is usually much lighter. Broth is cooked a much shorter period of time. I would say broth could be done anywhere from 40 minutes to an hour, where stock is much richer. Stock is cooked for 6, 8 hours even. And stock has less meat and more bones, but that's still not bone broth. Bone broth, my friends, has no meat at all. Bone broth is all bones, and that bad boy is cooked for a long, long time. My favorite way of making bone broth is actually in a crock pot over a 12 to 16 hour period. One time I made it for, I think it was close to 24 hours, but then I ran into a problem where I realized I can't sleep at night if I can smell fragrance of food cooking. I was up all night, so I decided not to do the 24-hour ever again. But 12 to 16 hours, 18 hours, at the point where the bone is so brittle that when you touch it, literally falls apart in your hands. That means at that point, the bone released all of the minerals and all of the collagen into the broth. I found this old Russian book, and it's called Russian Kitchen. There are many different recipes, and it talks about the different stocks and how to make them and what makes them different. So there's one that is actually called white or clear broth, and that is you don't cook it very long, and it's basically where you just take the cold meat and cold bones and you put it straight into the cold water, right? You may add aromatics, just like what I'm planning on doing. And then there's also a golden or yellow broth, and that is a little bit different. Why? Because the aromatics and the roots, carrot, parsnip, onion, are first slightly roasted, and then they add it into the broth. So that will add that golden color. And the other third type of broth is actually called red. And the reason for that is that the bones and the meat is, along with the vegetables, root vegetables, are first roasted. And when you put them into the water, it gives out that rich brownish reddish color. So that's that. Okay, friends, so the stock is finished. It took about 4 hours, and it reduced a little bit, which is very normal, but just keep the cover on. I kept the heat very, very low, and it literally just simmered. the whole house filled with a beautiful aroma. And now it's time for it to be strained, and I can store it away when it's cooled off in a fridge or use it in a soup today. So friends, I hope you are encouraged to make homemade stock and broth and try something new.